Welcome back, everybody. Riverman and myself, we are going to be tackling another tier list. And we've been pretty much hard up on directors. We started off with Carpenter a couple weeks back, and then we did Rob Zombie. And this week we're going to do the king of foot worship himself, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. We're not necessarily going to stick with directors week after week. We're going to get through all the heavies, man. We're going to have to do Cronenberg. We're going to have to do even like the Finchers.
Cooper, yeah.
We're going to have to do Lynch, all that stuff. But, we will shake it up. We need to start. We can do other stuff too besides just directors. We can do franchise. That'd be great. That'd be really fun, actually, to do something like the Friday the 13th franchise. We could branch off and do music. We could do whatever. But for now, we're going to do Tarantino. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my little screen here. All right. And we're going to go ahead and get rolling. Let me go ahead and get kind of set up here. I wonder if I can make this look prettier for you guys. Oh, yeah. How's that?
Looks great.
All right. That looks great. Okay. So these are a lot of fun because we like to get interactive with you guys because we're going to need some help for sure. I know Quentin Tarantino, he's super consistent in the fact that he's one of those guys, man. You could have a favorite Tarantino movie and it's just on the bottom of somebody else's list, which is going to make for some good discussion. And for fun, just like I pissed a few guys off with Carpenter and I put Halloween 2 on there just for shits. I think I upset some folks. I'm going to do the same thing here. When we're all done, we're going to do True Romance and Dusk Till Dawn, even though he just wrote those just for fun. Nothing too serious. But just want to say hi again to people in the chat that are going to be helping us out today. Sam Lombardo. Let's see. Respect the Face. Blocko.
Yeah, new IMDb stinks, man. I hate the new IMDb. The UI is terrible.
It's a struggle, man. It's like I like to go to a director and just look at directorial, like filter it by what they directed and right. You can't do that anymore. It's just a big mess. I don't know why I don't know why they changed it. Blocko, what's up? Thank you for sticking with us here. Plemke, thank you for sticking with us here. Okay. All right. Elena's legit. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure, man. I just want to make sure. So thank you, Elena, for joining us as well. And will we do classical directors? Yeah, I don't see why not. Like 20s to 60s. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it'd be cool. We should really dive into all that stuff. And you're right. You can't have Spielberg without McCary. No, that stuff's fun too. And I like thinking about that with music as well. I like to think about the artists that influence the artists, right? All right. A lot of times these filmmakers, like you're talking about, got a lot more clout and success than the people that inspired them. So no, for sure. But we are going to go ahead and get started. And we have to start with, of course, Reservoir Dogs. All right. So what can we say that hasn't been said about Reservoir Dogs? It is the first feature film. And he initially got financed because he did a short film, right? He did. I want to say he essentially didn't he do like a kind of a short sort of like homage remake to Hard Boiled, John Woo's Hard Boiled, or was it a short film of this?
Yeah. It was. I think it was the John Woo, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he basically just kind of did a ripoff, remake, short version of John Woo's Hard Boiled, and that went to Cannes. He got a lot of buzz from that, and he ended up getting financing to do this flick. And you know what? I think this is it definitely shows. It's a debut. It definitely feels like a debut, and it definitely shows that he's working within a budget. So I think you kind of have to forgive that to a degree. Like you have to allow some room for that.
Yeah.
And I think he did it really well. I mean, this movie has one principal setting, that warehouse. You have the city street, after the jewel heist goes down, that they were running on foot. You have the initial diner. You have the diner where Tim Roth as a cop is meeting with his superior, talking about the sting, which could be the same diner as the first scene. They could have doubled it, right?
Yeah,
easily. So he's really just got a few sets. And you have the office, right? The office building where they're talking with the boss and whatever about the job with Chris Penn. It's just a few simple sets, man. He did a lot with a little. But when's the last time you watched this one?
God, it's been about 10 years. What can you say about this film, though? This is a good film, in my opinion. I mean, you have some of the best actors, I think, and some of my favorites. So you have Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, you have Harvey Keitel, Chris Penn. I mean, I don't know if they would be top tier actors back then, but when I watch one of these guys' movies, I really enjoy it. Yeah, man, I remember watching this movie back with my brother. He bought it on DVD and fell in love with it. I actually brought this movie to my psychology class and showed it there. And I remember the scene that I showed. It was the scene where I think does he bust the window of the lady's car and then he pulls her out of it? And
Yeah,
throws her to the
pulls her
ground.
through the window and throws her to the ground.
That's what it was. Yeah, and I thought that
That's
was so funny, dude.
Steve Buscemi does it.
I thought it was so funny. So I
Yeah,
showed it in my psychology class, and everybody got a kick out of that. That was 20 years ago, but
let's see.
No, it's great, man.
No, it's fantastic. The characters are great, and it jumps right into Quentin Tarantino style right away. The initial scene where it's them at the diner table just discussing random shit. They're talking about Madonna, True Blue, and which era Madonna is the best and where she fell off. And then they get into this whole thing about tipping and stuff like that. It's just that
one of the most quotable scenes. Yeah.
That Tarantino staple of just real life banter that really doesn't have to do with anything important. Yeah. And maybe it's not for everybody. Like I said, I was watching it with Eva and she was like, she fell asleep after that scene. She's like, what? That scene was so long and they weren't talking about anything. I'm like, I'm like, well, at least you get it in a Tarantino movie that's like an hour and a half and not a 2.5 hour movie. I don't know what you're going to do when we get deeper into his filmography.
Well, I mean, his dialogue is it's humorous and it's fun. And yeah, I a lot of the times I'm not like a film snob by any means. I really don't give a shit. But like his dialogue, a lot of the times, like when he's going on these like 20-minute monologues on some of these people, like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat by the end of it. I think it's really entertaining. But
yeah, he's really good at dialogue, and I think this is just a prelude to him perfecting it with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because like I said, it shows its budget, but you got to work within it sometimes. And it's like when you don't have the budget for a bunch of crazy action pieces and stuff like that, you got to do dialogue.
Yes,
if you can be a budget movie, if you can rely on really quality story, characters, and dialogue, and luckily he was able to do it because you got Mr. Blonde, who's really, because think about it, everybody in this is super memorable.
Oh, absolutely.
They all stand apart. They have their own individual identities. They're easy to identify with, whether personally or vicariously through somebody else you might know. But Mr. Blonde, he's great. You've got
Mr. White, Mr. Orange,
Mr. White, of course, Harvey Keitel. He's the gangster with a conscience. You've got Mr. Pink, which is Steve Buscemi.
Yeah,
and he's great. He's like trying to be his voice of reason this whole time. Like, no, fuck this guy. Like, what? And then you got Mr.
Orange,
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown's not really much. Mr. Brown, Mr. Blue, they don't have much of a role, right?
Mr. Brown's Tarantino, yeah.
You just see them at the beginning in the, during the diner scene, but then, Tarantino fashion, he introduced everybody to the whole non-sequential storytelling, like jumping back and forth. And you never see, I don't think you see Mr. Blue anymore, and you definitely don't see Mr. Brown anymore. Well, you do. You see Mr. Brown get shot in the head when he's driving.
Yeah,
they end up going, but you don't really get to know them very well, except for the famous. It's like saying Mr. Shit, right?
Yeah.
And what's funny is Tarantino is the worst actor in all his movies, man.
He is, but it's funny though. I mean, when he pops in there.
So it is kind of funny. So, but they're great. Tim Roth is fantastic. Everybody else is fantastic in this flick.
I agree with Blocko. Chris Penn. I mean, he is the best. I agree. I love him.
Stop pointing that gun at my dad. Yeah, it's really good, man. So where do you rank it? Most importantly,
God, for me, this would be between an A and a B, but that's me. I mean, what do you think?
me personally, I would be happy with a B plus, like at the top of a B, just because, like I said, I forgive it because I forgive it of a couple of things because it is a debut and you can tell he's working with a budget. So I don't know. It's like I'm kind of docking it because of that
But
but at the same time, it's like why I feel like he
influence
did
or
almost the
whatever.
best he could. He did,
I,
yeah. Okay,
people
we're
are
gonna
still
talk about
talking about this. I
Okay,
mean,
so we have to talk
24
about it.
years
We're gonna
later.
grade it on how much we like the film. I
Yeah.
apologize I didn't bring that up, and also just influence, and then we should also talk about timelessness. Like, how does it hold up today? So, as far as the movie itself,
Movie
I
itself is
think
a
it's a,
B.
I think it's a solid B plus. So it's
Yeah,
gonna go
yeah,
up. Yeah,
yeah.
influence, man, it's got big influence. I would say it's a high A on
Yeah,
influence.
yeah, it's very, very recognizable. People still quote it to this day. Whenever you go out to a restaurant, what do you mean you don't tip? You know, people
Yeah,
bring up the one-liners all the time.
dude, but you know what? It's like it's crazy because my personal enjoyment of it isn't everything that matters. Like I would probably give it a high B because I'm trying to also leave room for other Tarantino movies here. I don't want to put them all on the same level.
No, I totally understand that. No, I get that.
But also it's kind of hard to think about what he did with a small budget. He's got memorable like the whole stuck in the middle scene.
Yeah, yeah.
He did a little it's perfect. Like you don't even see much. You see him with like his ear cut off, but as soon he's playing stuck in the middle with you on that radio station they keep referencing and he's dancing and then he goes up to his ear and then the camera pans away and it looks away and then you hear him screaming and then Michael Madsen kind of walks up back into the shot after you don't see anything. It's just all done so well.
Well,
Um
it's Tarantino's El Mariachi, you know. It's the low
yeah.
budget, you know, type of action flick, which is there's something about that I love. I really dig that. So I don't know. It would be between an A and a B. So
Oh, really quick. I forgot to edit Todd's name. Look at that. Let me fix that for you. There you go.
there you go.
I'm Vic Vega and he's Vincent Vega. So obviously that was kind of cool. He was kind of doing his own universe back
Yeah,
then too, because Vic Vega and Vincent Vega were brothers. But I don't know if that was always the plan because he originally wanted Michael Madsen to reprise the role in Pulp Fiction,
yeah.
right? And then Michael Madsen was busy or something doing something else. I bet he's kicking himself in the ass. And then instead of just recasting it with Travolta, he just made him a brother. So, and then there was that talk of them having a spin-off movie like the Vega brothers,
Yeah.
which could have been cool too. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna kind of put it in your guys' court. Like I feel like the influence is strong. I think it's a solid B plus as far as
I think it's a
how
B
much I like
plus.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the influence is strong. So what do you guys think? Blanco says it's a solid B.
What do you
Love
think,
Sick says it's a
Elena? What do you think? I'm lovesick.
yeah. Yeah, give us one more vote because Blocko says B. I'm starting to lean towards high level B unless we get any A's or anything worse.
Plumpy's been pretty quiet. Come on, Plumpy.
Love sick. We're spitting some Bible facts. Okay, so it's gonna live right here. It's gonna live
Okay.
right here at the top of
Yep.
the B section. So now we're gonna go into the heavy, man. Where's it at? Pulp Fiction. I feel like I gotta put this shit in order. But Pulp Fiction, I mean, dude, what hasn't been said about Pulp Fiction already? So this is the movie that changed everything.
Yep.
This is the Reservoir Dogs launched his career.
Yep.
Pulp Fiction solidified it, and it solidified his place in pop culture history forever. Like he could have did nothing else after this, and people would still be talking about this movie. And
Absolutely.
let's start it off simple. Our enjoyment of the film.
My
This is an S.
This is an S. This is one of the best films of all time, I believe. I
Now,
think this is a fantastic movie.
not even just S. So let's talk about cultural impact. We don't even have to leave the decade it came. Dude, think about the year this movie came out. In the
Yep.
wake of that, how many movies did we have come out that just wanted to be Pulp Fiction? We had a whole influx of Pulp Fiction wannabes coming out, which in a way is kind of cool because violence was in vogue all of a sudden,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? In the 90s, you had all these people trying to do, yeah, people were trying to emulate the Tarantino talkie movies with a lot of
Mhm.
witty dialogue, and they couldn't do it as well, you know. But what's the movie? 2 Days in the Valley. That's a good example where
Yeah.
that's just a total Tarantino ripoff. Total Tarantino ripoff with the sequential jumping, the big ensemble cast of characters dancing around each other, intertwining with each other. You know, it's the same thing, and that's a pretty solid flick. But dude, everybody wanted to be the next Tarantino, and if you want to know my opinion, the last time we had a filmmaker that really shook up the industry and had this kind of influence on where the industry was going to start taking their movies, it hasn't happened since Tarantino. This is the
Yeah,
last time we had somebody. Yeah, we've had some popular directors come out, like Ari Aster and stuff like
Christopher
that.
Nolan. Yeah,
Yeah, but dude, nobody. I don't know how old you guys all are listening to this right now. I guess if you're a Gen Zer, you wouldn't know, but
his name
it,
sold the movie. I mean, it didn't
yeah,
matter what the movie is about.
and this is the confidence he had. He would put his film, Quentin Tarantino, he would
Yeah.
put himself on the marquee, right? Even before he probably even felt like he was really established. I mean, that took some balls, and
Mhm.
that's what you got to do. It's like Michael Jackson dubbing himself the king of pop.
Yeah.
He dubbed himself the king of pop.
Yep.
And it's just like willing it into existence, right? And then everybody's like, yeah, he's the king of pop. Tarantino did the same thing. He was all in on himself. And like I said, in the 90s, man, uh, pop culture, dude, you couldn't watch a single TV show that wasn't spoofing this too.
Yeah.
You guys watch The Simpsons. You guys ever watch that episode of The Simpsons where it's a complete spoof on Pulp Fiction? But it's a whole episode based off Pulp Fiction where it's telling different scenarios, like a day in the life of Springfield, and
Mhm.
it's emulating Pulp Fiction. Like you even have like Snake running over Chief Wiggum with the donuts and getting the ball gag in his mouth, you know, and everybody's kind of got their own little story. It was huge, man. So
It
culture
was
input.
it was big enough to the point where everybody that I knew, like tons of people, bought the soundtrack as well. So you go over to somebody's house and you see the Pulp Fiction soundtrack sitting there, and
Dude,
I love the fucking soundtrack. I remember buying that back in '95, I believe. Movie came out in '94, and then I finally got to watch. I think I rented from Blockbuster back in '96 or something like that, and I watched it about 6 or 7 times in like a 3 or 4 day period because I loved it that much.
now speaking of the soundtrack, and he did this with his last movie too, but he really he really made these retro soundtracks and implementing them into the films really cool.
Yeah,
And I felt like that was going on even more after this too. Like I said, he did it with Stuck in the Middle with You. He was a master at ironically using songs for a scene, right?
and
A
that's
song
what's so
like
great about him. Yeah,
yes, a song like "Stuck in the Middle with You" while a cop's getting tortured is funny. It's ironic. It doesn't belong, but it works so well. And then it's Pulp Fiction. It's iconic, man. You have Dick Dale, right? Dick
yeah,
Dale, the iconic surf guitar.
hmm
It, how much money did he make from this? You know, how much did this put him into some kind of a spotlight? And I mean, when you think surf guitar and you hear that lick, you think Pulp
yep,
Fiction. You think Pulp
absolutely.
Fiction. You don't think surf guitar. You don't think fucking Wipeout. You don't think all that kind of shit. You think Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
What other tracks are in this? Like popular songs? I
"Girl,
can't.
You'll Be a Woman Soon." There was quite a few, I believe, if I remember right. But I just remember, man, it fits the movie like a glove, and that's the good thing about Tarantino, like you're saying, is he brings up all these old songs from the '60s, '70s, and he just revives them. I mean, you listen to it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's perfect for that scene. I mean, it's crazy because music takes, man, something that directors really don't give a shit about anymore is music in their films. I mean, they like scores. I love soundtracks. I love listening to a song and thinking about what part of the movie that is. I'm that big of a junkie. So when it comes to
Well,
soundtracks, I love it, man.
I think I think soundtracks are awesome if they're used right. And he picks the right types of songs, era defining songs. And like I said, he's using them effectively. Like I said, ironically, right? Stuck in the Middle with You while someone's getting tortured, shit like that. It's fantastic. And he actually will write those songs in his drafting when he's writing the script, just assuming he's going to be able to get the rights to them, just hoping he's going to be able to get the rights. And he'll write around these songs. And that's a lot different than a lot of these movies that'll just kind of shoehorn in some kind of known song they can get the rights to in a movie. It's like,
Jungle Boogie was another one he had in there. It was pretty big.
but I'm saying, like, it's not like when you watch a movie with some kind of action scene and they just arbitrarily throw in kung fu fighting. It's kind of
Mhm.
generic. It's like, what, there's no real artistic merit here. It's just kind of on the nose, right? He made it cool. He did it right. So it really serves the story. Blocko, oh no,
Neil Diamond,
Oliver,
Chuck Berry. I mean, he has a lot of.
and you don't even have to like these fucking songs. I'd rather eat pine cones for dinner than listen to Neil Diamond, but it works for the movies. It's great.
Yeah.
Oliver's saying he's gonna unsub if we don't give Pulp Fiction an S. I don't think he's left us much of a choice.
Oh
It's an
God.
S.
Yeah. It's
100%. It
high
ages
S.
well.
Yes.
It's a high S. It's great. This is his fucking crown jewel, man. This is what he's gonna live and die by, to be honest with you.
Casablanca. Yeah.
What we didn't
Absolutely.
also talk about is, more than any other movie, iconic cover. Look how iconic that is.
It's phenomenal.
And I will say, I don't think he had another movie after this that had an iconic cover.
If you didn't walk into somebody's house in college and they didn't have this poster, then they weren't fucking cool.
And they weren't smoking a bowl, and they didn't have one of those fucking Bob Marley hats, dude. No, it's true. But I'll tell you this is the only, I would say Reservoir Dogs is a close second, but after Pulp Fiction, he never had another iconic cover, in my opinion.
No.
The movies
No.
might be great, but he never had a cover like this.
No. That's perfect.
It changed pop culture, Blocko. You're absolutely right. And Oliver, you're saying you're 42, so you remember it, man. You remember when Tarantino was just the buzz. He was the talk of the town. And like I said, I'm waiting for that. I think I've been saying this for about 5 years now, 6 years even, and I still feel this way. I feel like we're very close. I think the big Marvel thing, the big Pixar thing, all the shit, the big Disney fucking monopoly, I think it's all coming to a boiling point. And I think we're getting so close to where Hollywood is just going to have to hit a reset switch.
Yep.
Right. And me personally, I wish we could expedite it even faster. And I wish it would wash away and we all start from the ground up again and let new people take a stab at building an industry. And it start where old movies, like, start with indie, start with story, back from the ground up, original ideas and stuff that's story and character driven. And
yeah, but also mindless summer blockbusters, like, and that's what I'm excited about. Like Top Gun 2 did so well. Like I'm excited. I'm hoping they're gonna make some like non-political,
I hope it's gonna
like
influence. It's gonna,
just
even
fun
though
movies, enjoyable movies.
they took the Taiwanese flag off his jacket. There's a little bit of politics in there.
No, they didn't. They put it back on, didn't they? I thought they
No,
did.
did they?
Yeah.
You mean for the home release?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they took it off. I'm pretty sure
No,
they
they're
airbrushed that
talking
shit out.
about it, but they have it on there, I believe.
I'm pretty sure they took it off, but we'll get back to that. But
Whatever.
anyway, regardless, hopefully that has a nice effect and we get good blockbusters again, because blockbusters are not a fucking bad word, man. I don't like film snobs. I don't like these weird, crazy, stuck up people that are like, if it's not Peck and Paw, is not good, or whoever the fuck it, or a more modern day, if it's not if it's not fucking Tree of Life and Terrence Malick shit, it's not good. No, because I think blockbuster has a negative connotation with it now, because we associate that with, what are the popcorn blockbusters? They're Marvel movies or Disney movies. They're all Disney properties, Star Wars movies, and they're shit.
Yeah.
But Top Gun Maverick, it harkens back to a day when blockbusters really had a place, because it was cool, man. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big of a film buff elitist you are today, with your fucking precious Criterion collection behind your back. You liked Terminator 2 when you were a kid. You loved it.
Absolutely.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Jurassic Park, E.T., Jaws. These are what got you into films, and you can't fucking deny it. Nobody was watching a Peck and Paw movie when they were 4 and being like, oh my God, I love this. No, you need that lubrication, baby, before you get fucked with the good shit, right? So it's just like these people that like try and denounce bands that are super popular. You could shit talk Metallica all day long, or AC/DC, or dude, these are the bands that got you into, your fucking true, with a V, heavy fucking black metal, whatever it is you listen to, and you can't deny it. And just because, they led you down a different path, that doesn't mean those albums are any less good. That doesn't mean these movies were any less good,
Yeah.
right? In fact, they're important. I would say they're arguably just as important than, you know, anything else. They're just as important as Seven Samurai, right? I think Terminator 2 is just as important as fucking Seven Samurai in that regard. It really is. So, anyway, yeah, Pulp Fiction's an S. It changed pop
It
culture
is.
100%. Okay, so moving on. Now, this is where we're going to get interesting because it's pretty everybody loves Pulp Fiction. I don't know anybody that doesn't like it, so that's not really exactly that interesting of a topic. Now we're going to get to where it's interesting, where it's going to get divided. Jackie Brown. Now, when this came out, fucking people were stoked because it was the follow-up to
Yep.
Pulp Fiction. Expectations were high.
Yep.
And I will also note too that when Tarantino came out with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, he was bringing heavy influence of these types of movies he was influenced by into the mainstream to the point where, like I said, the mainstream audience, they didn't know what they were watching. They thought these were totally original from the ground up. Like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before, right? But
Mhm.
Reservoir Dogs is like other movies. Pulp Fiction takes heavy influence from other movies. When you get into Jackie Brown going forward, now we're at a point where we realize it. It's like, okay, maybe a lot of people have really started doing their homework and getting introduced into some of these old films that Quentin Tarantino was influenced by, and they're starting to become those film snobs. Like,
Yep.
oh yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to shit talk. I think there have been over the years some naysayers to Tarantino about like, well, all he does is now he's just remaking of movies. He's not original at all. He's just like, yeah, but did they get you into these movies? You wouldn't know Foxy Brown without Jackie Brown or whatever. You know, you wouldn't know this fucking shit, right? Um,
Well, unless you grew up in the 70s, I mean, yeah.
exactly. But Jackie Brown came out and it was his ode to black exploitation, right?
And that's what got me into blaxploitation.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
100%. You didn't know. I didn't know what black exploitation was when I saw this. This is the first movie its kind I saw,
Yeah,
and
Pam Gripper's yeah, fantastic.
I think it let a lot of people down just because at the time, because it didn't have the violence of Pulp Fiction. It didn't have the non-sequential storytelling wasn't as off the wall in this one. I would say this one was a little bit more easy to follow. Because I'll tell you, man, when Pulp Fiction came out, we rented it on home video when I was like in the 4th grade. I didn't get it. As a kid, I was like, I'd never seen anything like it.
That's why you have to
I
watch
did
it so many times.
I was literally how old would I have been? I would have been 8, I think. And then I was watching John Travolta get shot and die. Then all of a sudden he's in Quentin Tarantino's backyard wearing a dorky t-shirt. I'm like, what? Why is he still alive?
Well, it's one of the first in its kind, it seems like, that jumped
I
around
just
like
I
that.
couldn't wrap my head. It was
Yeah,
confusing to me as a
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
And now it's awesome. Like I appreciate when filmmakers do stuff like that. You know, he's not talking to you and treating his audience like they're stupid, even though as a kid I was stupid. So
Yeah.
maybe if you're a kid, you're
As a
stupid.
kid, kids are stupid.
But now I like it. Now it's like when I watch movies like that, I like to be challenged a little bit. Like, you don't have to spoon feed me, man. You can jump around, you can be creative with your narratives and stuff like that. And I'm going to follow along. And, you know, it's because of movies like Pulp Fiction I can follow along. So Jackie Brown comes out and there's no violence. It's not as fantastical as something like Pulp Fiction. And I always liked Jackie Brown. I don't remember how I ranked it when I first saw it, but I can tell you this movie ages like a fine wine to me.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
and this is one of the, this I say this is the one Quentin Tarantino movie that doesn't get talked about, and this is one I wasn't introduced to a little later, so
Mhm.
and I loved it, man.
I I
I
think this
loved
is
it.
the one. I think I watched this third. I watched Pulp Fiction, and then I probably watched Jackie Brown. Then I might have watched Reservoir Dogs after, maybe. But I've been watching Pulp Fiction for years. I mean,
Yeah,
since I was in middle school. So, you know,
yeah,
not far
Reservoir
when it came
Dogs
out.
and Pulp Fiction were the 2 that only was in my player, so yeah.
So
Um,
I want
Jackie
to
Brown
say,
was
like I
not in there.
said, we got to grade it on the 3 different criteria. As far as enjoyment, God, if anybody wants to give this anything less than an A, I'm kind of willing to fight you over it. But
I'm
it's
good
not
with
all
that.
about how, huh?
I'm good with an
But
A on this.
it's not all about enjoyment. Let's talk about cultural impact. I don't think it has
No,
as much, and that
no, it
hurts
really
it.
doesn't.
It's
Yeah,
kind of the forgotten movie in his filmography.
it is.
and that's only because it followed Pulp Fiction. It followed Pulp Fiction. So that kind of sucks that I can't say it's higher because it's got a great cast too. He started introducing this thing in Pulp Fiction. It was highly talked about that he resurrected John Travolta's career, right? Because
Yes.
at the time, John Travolta was kind of Hollywood cancer. He was doing, as Quentin Tarantino says, the baby movie. Yeah, he was in
Figure
the what's
stalking, yeah.
yeah, but he wasn't a marquee guy anymore, and he was kind of a washed up guy. You thought, oh, he hasn't had a hit in a decade. This is a Saturday Night Fever. This is Vinnie Barbarino, but he was huge. He was huge all the way in the 80s, man. He was working with De Palma, he was working with everybody. And something just happened and he fell out of style. And he couldn't be hired. And I think, I think it's one of these scenarios where he really went to bat. Like they didn't want to hire Travolta. Like, we're not putting Travolta in this. Because now he
Yeah.
was getting a bit more money, right? Because
Mhm.
Reservoir Dogs was such a huge success. And he's like, no, there. I think what he said was he was really selling Travolta. I think he had two people. I can't remember who the other guy he wanted for Vincent. Um, and if he couldn't have him, he wanted Travolta. And I don't remember what I can't remember, so don't quote me out of school.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you picked Travolta because he was awesome.
I don't remember but he was saying that the studios were not having it. And this is how big his balls were swinging, man, so early in his career. He's like, no, he's like, you guys, he fought, he put his balls on the line and he could have risked everything. But he basically said, you guys don't think he's right for the role. He's like, go watch De Palma's Blowout.
Oh, yeah.
Just look at his performance. Look at how he does suspense. Look at how he does. This is the guy. Like
Yeah.
he's the guy. He can do it. So he put all his faith in, and even then, he put Sam Jackson. He put Sam Jackson on the map. Sam Jackson had been doing smaller stuff. He had smaller roles in Jurassic Park. He had a small role in Goodfellas. He was around, but small stuff. Coming to America. He had that one scene, but he was not a name, and this made him a name. And
This
so
is it. This Pulp Fiction was his movie. I think. I mean, I don't really think it was Uma Thurman. I thought it was Travolta stole the show.
everybody is fantastic. But he tried to do the same thing with Jackie Brown, right? He put Pam Grier in the lead. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Pam Grier in the lead. Like, when was the last time she was leading a movie? And even when she was leading the marquee of a movie, were they ever mainstream enough? No, they were like the blaxploitation stuff.
Yeah.
So it's ballsy because this is how much he carried clout as a director. Like his name's on the marquee. You don't have to worry about who I'm putting as a star because you got QT's name on there. I can put Pam Grier in the lead. Pam Grier is at the top of the call sheet over De Niro at
Oh,
this
yeah.
time.
Yeah. She
And
was the highest.
we got Sam Jackson returning. You got Michael
Ro
Keaton, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Robert
Robert Forster.
Forster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. He pulls Robert Forster from a similar type of genre of movie, right? These
Mhm.
older exploitation, these gritty crime movies, and same thing. And I would argue Robert Forster's kind of second billing to Pam Grier.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
kind of it's
absolutely.
that's incredible. And everybody was chomping at the bit to suck on Quentin Tarantino's tit that Robert De Niro didn't care if he had to be under the call sheet to Robert Forster and Pam Grier. Robert Forster has been on record. He's done interviews and they've asked him like, what were you doing before you got to Jackie Brown? He's like, got ready to hang it up because he couldn't get work. I think Joe Bob Briggs was saying that he was friends with him and he had
Mhm.
received a call like, yeah, hey, will you do some like school, go to high
PSA,
schools and
yeah.
give like PSAs and little talks about acting and thespianism and all that shit. And Joe Bob was like doing that shit with him, just to help out his buddy. And he literally, I think when he went to the call, I think when he went to go read for Pulp Fiction, I think he said he was literally doing or he just wrapped Jack Frost. Right.
Oh,
That's
okay, yeah,
his career was in the shitter, dude.
yeah.
And I can't say enough bad shit about Jack Frost, right? It's kind of fun, but no, not Jack Frost. I'm sorry.
Michael
Uncle
Keaton?
Sam. Uncle
Oh, Uncle
Sam.
Sam, okay.
Not Jack Frost. Jack Frost is fun. Uncle Sam is dog shit.
I
But
like Uncle Sam.
he was in Uncle Sam and he says I was at a career low, man, and he was ready to hang it up. So Tarantino really puts his neck on the lines for these actors he grew up loving, which is awesome.
But even Bridget Fonda, man, she is a smoke show in the movie.
She's a smoke show in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
and everybody's fantastic. I think it's a great film. It's wordy,
Chris
but
Tucker. Yeah.
this Chris Tucker's in it. It's got a soundtrack too that reflects the era.
Yep.
The
It's great.
Delphonics, obviously, this kind of put the Delphonics on the map with that song. It's great.
Bobby Womack. I mean, you have a ton of great songs on there.
So where are we going to rank it? 'Cause so for me, it's a high A, but like I said, Impact, it doesn't have it, and I think Timelessness, it holds up. It's a great movie for me.
I think this is an A.
Yeah, I don't think that second criteria is enough to bring it down.
No, I don't. I
No,
think it's that. I mean, just the fact that you watch this now and this could be your favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I mean, it's
it,
that
it
good.
is. It is. As I've gotten older, I mean, honestly, I personally, it's right under Pulp for me.
Not
Legit.
for me, but yeah, it's close, man. It's really close.
Okay, so we got to be totally transparent with you all, and we need your help. So Todd and I, neither one of us have watched to completion Kill Bill 1 or 2. So we're gonna leave this.
I watched Kill Bill 1, but I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of these movies. Kill Bill 1 and 2.
They
I I couldn't get into Kill Bill 1.
I've been meaning to actually commit and really sit down and watch them as a double feature, but yeah, there's just something about them that just never grabbed me, man. And I get it. This is his homage to kung fu movies. It's like a
Yeah.
live action anime, right?
Yeah.
And the actors in it too. He's got Michael Madsen back. He's got fucking the belt noose himself, David Carradine in this, playing Bill. Brings Uma Thurman back. He's got like Vivica A. Fox, which is kind of odd. I'm not a big Vivica A. Fox fan.
No.
I don't know, like what. Yeah, I know. Blanco's like, what the fuck? I'm gonna leave this into your guys' hands, man. Like, do you guys think Kill Bill 1 and 2 are on equal? At least are they equal with each other wherever they stand, or is one better than the other, or are they one movie? Are they one movie that had to be broken up into two? Right? I
I
guess I wouldn't know.
I didn't give a shit about after the first movie. I didn't give a shit about it. It would be probably a high C for me, but I mean that's just me.
I do want to give him a chance. I'm not going to be. I want to give him a chance because I like the types of movies that they're based around, right? I do, but I'm not used to seeing Thurman in these Uma Thurmas. I'm not used to seeing Uma Thurmas in a movie like that. I don't know. They're one movie, okay. Milo says one's better than two. Fun fact. This is a fun fact that has been corroborated, has been backed up. Quentin Tarantino, Lars even said this in Metallica. Quentin Tarantino asked Metallica to score the Kill Bill movies.
Hmm.
And they had to say no for some commitment. Like, how wild would that be if Metallica scored Tarantino movies? Weird.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. What could have been? I bet Lars is kicking himself though. Anyway,
you have David Carradine, you have Lucy Liu, you have Vivica A. Fox. And God, man, it was just screaming fucking early 2000s for me. I couldn't get into the first one, so I never watched the second one.
I'm gonna try and watch these soon. I'm gonna try and watch these this week, and I'm gonna give you guys a evaluation on next week's episode. So where are we gonna put Kill Bill 1? Yeah, Blocko, Metallica fucked up big time. All right, we're gonna leave this to you guys. Where is Kill Bill 1 fall? We need to. Okay, so Blocko's saying it's a B.
I could see B. I could see why people like it, but for me, my taste, it was a C plus. But I could understand why people want it as B.
Oh, so you would even give it a C plus though? Yeah, you act like you just hate it.
Well, I would give it a C. It's not like one of my favorites by any means, but it was okay. It was fine.
I don't know
cultural impact. It was pretty big at the time. I remember Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's got a very alluring title. I remember everybody was like, "Oh, I want to go see Kill Bill." Like, it's just, yeah, I'm gonna watch him, Blocko. So we got a B here from Milo. We got a B from Blocko. I mean, I'm gonna go with you guys. We're gonna call it a B, but it's gonna be below Reservoir Dogs. Okay, so what about the second one?
That's the one I didn't see. Yeah.
So they're all saying that they were filmed together, I think, and they're part of the same movie. So how is it as good? Is it pretty consistent? Do you have to watch both, right, to appreciate it as a whole, or is there a quality drop off? Let us know. Where does this go? Does it belong in a B2? I think the general consensus is maybe part 2 is not as good as the first part, but I might be talking out of my ass. So, where does part 2 go? And does she kill Bill? No, I don't want to know. I'll watch it.
B
B
minus.
minus. So it's like slightly under. All right. I'll go with that. I bet that's pretty accurate, even though I haven't watched them through and through. Okay, so technically, the next movie is Death Proof. Okay, Love Sick Loves Part 2. Blanco Loves Part 2 too. I'm gonna watch them so I can give you an evaluation next week because it's kind of cardinal sin that I haven't, and I don't know why it's taken. I own them. I bought them fucking years ago, years ago, and I just never got around to sitting down and watching them.
I'll
But
watch part 2 and then we can talk about it next week.
I think you really gonna watch part 2 without watching part 1 in so many years. I feel like you got to rush up.
Nah, all right.
We'll
see. We'll see if I can get. We'll see if I can get through part 1.
If they're one in the same movie, you're probably gonna want to watch part 1 again. You know, you got to watch the second video cassette of Titanic.
That's the best video of it.
You're just gonna start. You're gonna start where, yeah, you're just gonna like. Doesn't it kick off with the ship sinking?
And titties, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into Death Proof. This is obviously part of the Grindhouse release, which is really cool. And once again, this is something that mainstream audiences at the time had no awareness of. Old school Grindhouse double features, and they were doing a throwback homage to that. Him and Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez is the first flick in the group, and he did Planet Terror, which was a little bit more action centric. And this one is a carsploitation movie, very talky, very slow. But with Stuntman Mike, some great characters. Now, I'll just go out on a limb and say nothing on this list is going to be an F, but this is at the bottom. This is on towards the bottom of the list for me. So
crazy.
I have a question for you guys. So when they ended up releasing these separate, were they longer? Like, was the Grindhouse versions abridged?
I don't know. No, I don't. No, they weren't longer. It was just basically, yeah, 2 separate movies there. I mean, I think I have the one where it's connected with like the trailers in the middle, but yeah,
that one went out of press a long time ago, like the DVD or whatever.
I have the Blu-ray. I think.
Oh, the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I haven't. I got to be honest. I haven't watched the Death Proof, or sorry, any of the Grindhouse movies in a long time. But I remember the experience being amazing. I think I went and saw it at least 2 times, maybe 3 times. And me and a buddy, we ate it up, man, because it was like 3.5, 4 hours long? I don't remember how long it was.
It was fantastic.
Because, like I said, they emulated the whole experience of seeing a double feature, complete with fake trailers by Eli Roth. You had Thanksgiving,
Rob
and
Zombie.
You had the Rob Zombie, the SS women werewolf movie. I don't remember what else. You had who else did one? Edgar Wright did one, right?
Edgar Wright, yeah. Don't.
He did Don't. How cool is that? I loved it. In the Rob Zombie, you had Nicolas Cage as the Fu Manchu.
You had the hobo with shotgun one.
Oh
too.
yeah, and Machete too. Machete and Hobo with a Shotgun and Machete actually went on to be real movies, which is super cool.
Yeah,
like they even delivered on that, and which Machete was a letdown. Like the trailers and everything.
Awesome, man.
Hobo was great. I haven't watched that in a long time though. But how cool of a project that people just weren't ready for. And I think this was the end of Tarantino's reign at the box office, because this is the first thing he was a part of that flopped.
This was a huge flop. I think I was maybe one of 10 people in the theater.
It was a huge flop. And the thing is this is also a case of Tarantino swinging his big nuts around, right? This whole, you can't put Travolta in your movie. The fuck I can't. I'm Tarantino. You can't put Pam Grier and Robert Forster in your movie. The fuck I can. I'm Tarantino. And he had so much power. It's like, hey, we want to do this Grindhouse double feature thing. It's going to be like 4 hours long. It's going to have limited playtime in theaters, which means minimal money for you because we can only show it so many times during a day. And it's a type of movie and experience that most people aren't going to deem consumable. And they still bent, like, all right, and Quentin Tarantino we trust, and he fell on his face on this one a bit. I loved it, but it just didn't resonate.
This movie should have come out 10 years prior, because this came out in 2007, right in the beginning, like probably the second or third year of the smartphone era. Mm-hmm. So people's attention spans were pretty fucking zero at that point. So they're not going to want to sit there and watch a 3-hour movie. I did. I loved every second of it, but nobody else wanted to.
I will say at the time, I I I think I enjoyed Planet Terror a little more at the time.
I
I think that
oh no.
I think that would be different today. But I don't know. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because I was at the end of like a 4.5 hour fucking sit down that the slowness of it. I don't know. This was basically a talking movie about four women in a car. Stuntman Mike's great. All that stuff. The ending is fantastic when he gets his comeuppance is super great.
It's a
Um,
revenge flick, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. It's so I kind of feel I definitely want to revisit this one. I remember it very, very well, but I just want to see how I appreciate it today, where it's been some years. But I don't know where to put this one. I think until I watch it again, I'm still gonna have to put it a little lower on the list. For me, I would say it's a C,
And
like a C plus.
for me, it'd be a B plus because
Okay.
I think that whole Zoe Bell scene with her surfing on the hood of the car
Yeah.
is fucking phenomenal. I love carsploitation movies. I watched a ton of those, and this one's just great, man. The dialogue's great. Rosario Dawson, I had a huge crush on her back in like the early 2000s. So, man, Kurt Russell's phenomenal. Everything
He's
about this, the
awesome.
music really good too. So, soundtrack is
And this
great.
is the first time in a minute that we saw Kurt Russell in a big type project. And this was a case, I think, of Tarantino bringing back an actor who was a little faded, right? He wasn't anything mainstream in a while, and that
Yeah.
was cool, and I love that. And I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan. He's one of my favorites. So let's talk about impact. It has no impact. It's kind of another forgotten one. And I don't know, aging. Like I said, I haven't watched it enough to tell you how it's aged, but I don't know. Like I said, I would put it as far as enjoyment at a C. I don't really know where you guys would put it. Todd's saying a B.
Put it behind Kill Bill 2. We'll just at least get it up on a B
What's
because
everybody else saying? Blocko's saying B. I think yeah. I think we're I think we're getting a general consensus of a B. So let's do that for now. Low B. All right. So now this was a bit of a revival because Death Proof, I think, was a lull period for Tarantino, and then he came back really hard with audiences with Inglorious Bastards. Right. I'm not out of order, am I? No, this is right. So Inglorious Bastards, he came out swinging. Everybody seemed to love this movie. Critics loved it, and it's obviously a nod to there really is a movie called Inglorious Bastards back in the day. It's a nod on these old war pulpy movies. Once again, he's just kind of going through the gamut of different genre films, and he's kind of doing his own stake on all of them. Which at this point in his career, we kind of know what he's about and what he's doing. So I love this movie when I saw it. I absolutely loved it. I do think there's a point in the movie where it slows down a little bit.
it doesn't age well as some of his other movies. I think.
I think the characters are fantastic. I think the dialogue is incredibly good. And he ends up revisiting this type of thing later. This is the first time where he's doing revisionist history, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
An alternate version of historical events. In this case, Adolf Hitler. He obviously goes on to do that later in Once Upon a Time, but it's great. It's this alternate reality where Hitler takes a million machine gun bullets to the fucking face and he turns into like a paper mache doll just getting blown up. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like the story. I like it all. And obviously, this kind of put Christoph Waltz on the map.
Yeah.
And he was like an unknown. He got picked out straight from Austria to play the Jew hunter.
Yeah, he was
And
amazing. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. And I don't know what it is. I think there's a point in the flick. Pulp Fiction doesn't drag. Pulp Fiction is just as long, I think, if I remember correctly. There's a point kind of around like the Michael Fassbender stuff when Mike Myers shows up
Yeah. Yeah.
and Mike Myers is given this fucking giant ass fucking monologue for like what feels like 15 minutes where he's giving Michael Fassbender his assignment. I think that part kind of drags it down, and a little bit of the Diane Kruger stuff where
Mhm.
the theater and stuff, that there's like a point there. I think it is that it kind of slows it a little bit, but it comes back really strong. It ends really strong. I like this one, man. I mean, for me, I think it's an A. I think it's below Jackie Brown, but as far as enjoyment from this point on, by the way, I don't really think we can talk about cultural relevance because we're getting too new now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A little too new. But as far as enjoyment, man, I would put it in A. So what do you guys think? What do you think, Todd?
That's kinda where I had it. I had it more as a B plus, A minus. So, in that ballpark, I
Uh, and then
I
Brad Pitt is phenomenal in
he
it.
is
And
great. He is
at the
great.
time, I wouldn't have thought. I don't know I don't know why, because I just Brad Pitt seemed a little weird when the movie came out. We were so used to Tarantino plucking these in need of work actors and putting them in starring roles in the movies. And this one kind of took me by surprise a little bit because I'm like, oh, Brad Pitt. You mean he's like a relevant A-lister? It felt weird to me because you know what I mean.
I saw this with you and Doctor Sleaze. My
Yeah,
wife
yeah.
and Doctor Sleaze,
Dr.
we came
Sleaze,
down.
like
He
Dr. Sleaze
left
walked
after
up
2
and left 10
minutes.
minutes into it for a cigarette, never came back. He legit never came back. I think he ended up just walking home
Theater
too.
was packed. There I mean, there's no seats available in those 3, 4.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it was kinda weird to see Brad Pitt in the marquee, like, because it's like, "Oh, well, Tarantino's actually getting a legit A-lister now,
Yeah.
and
But
not in a supporting role." It
but
works,
Brad
but
Pitt is totally Tarantino, I think.
well, at the time, it felt weird, but no,
It
it
did.
works, and going forward now, we're in A-list territory. I think he's you know, he's putting more marquee, big blockbuster stars in his movies,
He still
but
pulls in
anyway,
marquees, though.
I think this movie's fantastic. Does anybody have any yeah, the strudel was fantastic, Milo. Love the David Bowie on the soundtrack. Does anybody have okay, so Milo says it's an S, Blocko says it's an A.
I
Um,
say A minus is fine, so I'd put it behind Jackie.
Love Sick says it's right behind Jackie for them. Yeah, I think an A is pretty good then. I think we're averaging it out pretty well.
I'm cool
I
with
think it's a
that.
great movie. Fantastic. And at the end of the day, I mean, the most important thing in a flick for me is characters, and this movie has it in spades. Okay, so now I
Well,
think
you kinda skipped over his other ones, his, ones he didn't direct. Are you gonna wait till
no, I'm
last,
gonna do
or
those at the end for fun.
okay, okay,
Because those are early. Yeah, we're doing those for
okay.
so next up came Django, and I don't really know how to gauge this movie was super popular. I kind of feel like it's an unpopular opinion to put this over Inglorious, but I I think I have to put it over Inglorious because it's just as long as Inglorious Bastards, but it doesn't feel like it. To me, this moves at a brisker pace. Um, it's got it's easier to follow. Like we're not in that era of Tarantino anymore where shit is like chopped up to shit. It's not Pulp Fiction anymore. Now he's telling fairly linear stories, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
especially with Django. Sorry to interrupt you. Inglorious, Inglorious still had multiple scenarios, right? Jumping
yeah,
from different people. Django's pretty much doesn't it just follow Django the whole time and the
yeah,
doctor?
yeah.
So
Christoph Waltz and Jamie Foxx, and, yeah, pretty much follows them the whole time.
yeah, so and which is fine. The movie, it just go dude, I love it. This is obviously his throwback to Django. It's black exploitation, slave exploitation mixed with the old Django spaghetti western type stuff. It's once again, he's just kind of blending these influences together and throwing stuff together that maybe shouldn't belong, but it does. The cast is amazing. Jamie Foxx is great at it. You know, it's
Jamie Foxx is really good. I'm not a huge fan of Jamie Foxx,
but he's
and
great in this. I could agree
yeah,
with you, but
but he's not like the charismatic person that should be in the leading role, in my opinion, for this movie, and that's what knocks it for me.
isn't it
Um,
funny though? Like everybody is so hard up. Everybody will drop everything to work with Tarantino that you have Leonardo DiCaprio, he will take underbilling to Jamie Foxx. Like there'll be a support role.
and
You
DiCaprio was phenomenal. He stole the show in this movie.
he's phenomenal. You got
Yeah.
what's it called? Sam Jackson, which Sam Jackson technically he was the narrator at the beginning of Inglorious. But Sam
Walton
Jackson,
Goggins, he's a great
Walter
character
Goggins is
actor.
in it.
Yeah,
He grabs Jamie Foxx by the big black dick.
yeah.
And then you have let's see.
Dennis Christopher is in this. I mean,
Oh, it's got no, dude. It's got what's it called? Don Johnson, dude. As
yeah, Don Johnson's in it, I believe.
Don
Yeah,
Do-
yeah, he
Don
is Big
Johnson, he
Daddy.
plays
Yeah,
Big
yeah,
Daddy
yeah.
at his little plantation, and it's so great. You have like Jonah Hill that shows up. That's kind of weird. I don't really think he offers much. Was Tatum? Did Channing Tatum show up too, or am I just thinking Jonah Hill?
No, I don't think Channing Tatum's
J-
in
j-
this.
but the whole Big Daddy thing is a lot of fun, and then obviously Calvin Candy and Candyland and all that stuff is really fun, and it's great to see that he gives roles to people like Tom Savini. He's like one of the the slave transporters, right, with working for Calvin Candy or something. You know, you still have those actors in there.
And
And then
go
what?
ahead. Go ahead.
Calvin Candy's having the Mandigo fights. It's
Yeah.
just everything about it's so racy, but because it's Tarantino, it's okay. Like he's
And
still
I
that guy.
and I love it. I think this is a phenomenal movie, and the only thing that's downgrading it for me is Jamie Foxx, man. I don't like him as Django. I don't. I
Who would you have
mean,
cast over James? Because you know he offered it to Will Smith first, which would have been worse.
of course, Fred Williamson was in a lot of those blaxploitation
So
westerns,
what? Yeah,
but
that's a good point. If this was 10 years earlier, he would have put Fred Williamson. If this was
yeah.
Jackie Brown, if he was doing Django when Jackie Brown came out, he would have put Fred the Hammer in this. So that's what I'm saying. I think we've marked a change for Tarantino at this point, and
I mean,
we were seeing more marquee people in his movies
Jamie
instead of
Foxx has more of the goofy presence than Fred the Hammer. Fred the Hammer was just kind of a cool cucumber. He was just a really, I don't know. He was a
not to me.
very
He wasn't fucking
no,
asshole.
but you know what I'm saying. I mean, his persona, something about him is just. I mean, people might think Jamie Foxx has that, but I don't see it. I remember him in A Living Color when he's acting like the
Laquanda,
weirdo
whatever,
Wanda. Yeah.
or whatever her name was.
I just can't get behind it just because he's too funny to me. I know he's a comedian, so that's just me.
Like when he was the blind guy with the German Shepherd. Pretty funny.
Yeah,
So
he's like a Wayne's brother,
so who would you have cast? Well, he was coming off a Ray. It's not like he picked him out of nowhere to do this role. He had garnered appreciation, and when he did Ray, and he won an Oscar, so he was kind of hot at the time, and he had shaken off the comedy thing. But who would you have cast?
Oh, let me do a search. Hold on.
You have to search.
I don't like I said, Fred Williamson. I mean,
So
as
you would have cast Fred Williams. You just said he didn't have the
y-
charisma for this type of role.
no, I think he has a charisma, but I mean, he was too old at that time, so I don't know who I would have cast. Um, I I honestly don't know. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean,
At
like
the end of the day, for me though, I get it. I have actors I like and don't like, but characters trump everything else. So the movie itself, the movie itself is really good.
it is a
So
good movie. Yeah.
even if I don't like, if I'm not the biggest Jamie Foxx fan normally, I like the character, I like the product, and it trumps everything else. Blanco says I should have cast Wesley. Fucking Snipes,
You
man.
know what? You know what, Blocko? You might have something there, Wesley Snipes.
Jeez.
No, you should have, he's probably in prison at that point. But
Yeah, I think he was doing time at the time.
I don't know. And I love Jamie Foxx. It just didn't fit it for me. So
And it's beautiful though. I think the cinematography is gorgeous in the movie.
yeah,
I love the Western stuff. I think it just looks fantastic, and I like all the different set pieces, right? From Candyland to the Big Daddy's plantation to the saloons and stuff like that. It's you get to see a little bit of everything. And I guess I have to deduct a point because Tarantino is that Australian guy is fucking cringe as shit. That's cringe, dude. Why? Because we hadn't seen Tarantino in one of his own movies in a while. And
oh
so
yeah,
when
yeah,
I saw we
yeah.
saw him in the theater, I was like taken aback, like, and he was doing the worst accent we've ever heard in our life, dude. It was so funny. Um, but it's good. I actually have to put it above Inglorious if you're asking me, as far as quality, just because the pacing is there.
See,
I think
and
it.
I'd put it behind Reservoir Dogs. I don't think it's better than Reservoir Dogs.
So do you not think it's better than Inglorious?
I think it's better than Glorious. Yeah.
But we have Inglorious at A.
No, I'll put it at a B plus, right behind Reservoir Dogs.
Behind Reservoir. Okay, so I I would put it at an A probably, honestly. But let's see. We're gonna have to go to a tiebreaker now. Luke Duke is in it. Yeah. What do you guys think? So Todd's saying B behind Reservoir. I mean, I think it's just a great movie. I mean, it is. I mean, I think it's an A, man. But what do you guys think? We'll let you guys be the tiebreaker. We don't have anything as a C, D, or an F, so that that should
Not
say a
yet.
lot.
Not yet, at least.
Nobody's gonna come on. We got a tiebreaker.
Blocko, it's an A.
Okay, so
Love Stick
Block
says B.
Oh, Milo
S,
says an S
Milo.
though. Okay, that brings it up. Do you guys have any problems if I put it above
It's
Inglorious?
not better than Glorious Bastards.
Really? You don't think so?
Uh, no, I don't.
Executive decision. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna get into some rough territory here. Hateful Eight. I think this movie is gorgeous. I love the cinematography, but it's probably his weakest, in my opinion. And the characters are fantastic. The actors are fantastic. I like how contained the flick is. It was obviously written as a stage play, and it shows, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I've yet to watch the Netflix unabridged version where it's like 8 hours long or whatever, like in installments. I have
yeah.
not watched that, so I need to appreciate it a little bit more. But I don't know. This is maybe the first time I was disappointed when I walked out of a theater because it seemed like a really long run time for not that much. Even though I love it's got you got what Tim Roth and is Michael Madsen in this one again? Michael Madsen, Tim Roth. First time we had seen Tim Roth in a minute, which is great because you feel like you can't. For some reason, I feel like you couldn't have Tim Roth and Christoph Waltz in the same movie because they're very similar presences.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
not acting, but just build. They have
yeah.
similar heights, similar looks, similar hair. You just can't mix them.
It's a Jennifer Jason Leigh, of course, Kurt Russell.
She's great. They're great. Kurt Russell's
Yeah,
awesome in it. Jennifer Jason Leigh's
Zoe
awesome in it.
Bell's back. I
Everybody's
mean,
great. Oh, this is the movie with Channing. That's what's getting
yeah,
confusing.
Channing. Yeah, which I love Channing, by the way.
Everybody in it's really good. Maybe it was just the fact that it was just too big for what it was. Like it didn't need to be so long. It didn't need to be
And I thought the dialogue, and you're complete opposite of me because I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great.
really.
Yeah, I love the dialogue heavy. I love the beginning scene. The ending's phenomenal. In my opinion, and I love how it takes place in the hut the whole time, and the characters are great, man. I really enjoyed them. I think this would be just behind Reservoir Dogs, in my opinion.
Have you watched the unabridged in Netflix, the installments, the
I haven't
parts?
watched that, but I watched the original movie in theaters,
I kind
and I
of feel
really
like I should. What do you guys think? Okay, so Blanco says definitely a B. Okay, it's a 4-part Netflix version is somehow twice as good. That's what Milo says. I think
really
that's what I'm gonna watch that one next because
okay.
I haven't revisited this since the theaters, and I want to. I love it though. It looks beautiful. I love the snowy setting. I
Beautiful,
like
yeah.
the cabin or whatever. Everything about it it should be higher on my list. I want to like it more. So, like I said, it was written as a stage play. So maybe it broken up
This
into
is
parts.
this is
Maybe it
better.
broken
Yeah,
Go ahead.
better than
Maybe
Death
it broken
Proof,
up
in
into
my opinion.
parts is gonna be more consumable. Maybe it's gonna be better for me. Lovesick
Uh,
says he'd put it between Django and Bastards. Interesting.
and I
So
put it after Reservoir. That's just mine.
you'd put it ahead or after, sorry.
Dogs.
Milo says still a B. Blanco says definitely a B. I mean, I
It's
guess
better.
Lovesick is an
It's better
A.
than Death Proof. So
So you do think it's better than Death Proof?
yes.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'll be, personally, if I'm just going off the first time I viewed it and the only time I viewed it, I probably would put it at a C plus. But I'm okay with this. I've never seen Kill Bills. I'm cool with that. B's great.
And
Okay,
I like Death Proof, but yeah, the relevance and everything makes it a B minus.
let me just put it. It's funny though because and it's also kind of weird because I felt like when this came out, as much as I love it, it felt like because every Tarantino movie was very different from each other up until this point. But didn't it kind of feel like we already saw this setting with Django a little bit? Like even down to like some snow western scenes. It just felt like a similar era and time capsule. It just
Similar
felt
era for maybe his genre or for his creativity, but nobody's doing that shit anymore. Even
no,
then,
I
in
just
the
mean like
two
these movies
thousands.
have something in common.
Yeah, similar tone a little bit. Yeah,
Whereas none of the other ones do, in my opinion. So that kind of felt weird. But on paper, though, a movie like this should be my favorite because I love westerns. I love
well,
these types of movies, and it has Ennio Morricone doing the score, right?
yeah, yeah,
Which isn't it funny? He reused the thing, right?
yeah.
Didn't he reuse this thing? Was it the whole thing or the whole score? I don't remember if he
I don't
reused the whole
remember.
thing. Isn't that nuts? How like sometimes they do that. But what is the other example of that I think about? Oh fuck, what is it? I can't fucking think of it. I can't think of it. What is the movie that they reuse for Dewey's theme in Scream? I can't think of it. Um, anyway, I gotta rewatch it. So, okay, so now we're gonna cap off the main flicks here with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I feel like he came back strong with this. Uh, somewhat divided. I think a lot of people think it's too long, and it does feel long, but not in a bad way. It does feel very long, but
It does.
I enjoy I
I
enjoy
I
every
I
minute of it.
I don't see how you can think this movie feels long.
No,
This
it does. Listen, that wasn't a negative. I think it feels like it's runtime. Django does not feel like it's runtime. I can't tell you why, and I like everything about Django. Hollywood kinda does feel like it's runtime, but I still love every minute of it, like, I soak it up. But it for some reason, I don't really know what that means, but it feels like it's runtime, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Maybe that means I'm savoring it
Hol
more.
Hollywood is peak Tarantino. I mean, his dialogue is fantastic in it. He has 2 of the best characters in it. I mean,
Yeah.
with, Brad Pitt and Leonardo.
Yeah, I
They're
mean, dude,
phenomenal.
I'm gonna jump the gun and say it's right here, but until somebody convinces me otherwise. For me.
I can convince you otherwise.
Okay, so convince me otherwise. For me, it's an A, just because I don't wanna put it on the same list as I don't wanna put it on the same list as P Pulp Fiction because I don't think everything's good. Um, because I don't know, I feel like, Jackie Brown just has a closeness to me because 'cause I've been watching it for so many years, and I it's kind of the underdog, and I maybe that makes me wanna love it even more because it's the underdog and I wanna rank it high, but I don't know, what's your opinions? I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is in the top 3, 100%.
I
How
you I would put it as an S minus. I would put this up there with Pulp Fiction, in my opinion. It doesn't have the cultural relevance, but,
it's
um,
young, it's a new movie.
the characters are phenomenal. The dialogue is probably some of his best dialogue.
The
It
fairy
just
tale aspect of the Sharon Tate murders is awesome, and it's
the
got his
soundtrack is probably his best soundtrack he's put out to
I
this
love the
date.
Rolling Stones Out of Time in there, and I
Deep
like,
Purple song, I mean, come on, that's, like, perfect when they're driving
you
through the hills and
you are
everything like
starting to
that.
convince me. I do like the
Man,
old Hollywood, I think I think it's really I love, I think over any Tarantino movie, which I think he does a great job of having really satisfying endings. I mean, Django's
oh,
got a really
absolutely.
satisfying payback ending. Pulp Fiction's got a great payback ending where it wraps up with Butch and all that shit. And Glorious Bastards has an awesome payback ending, like with actually nailing fucking Hitler and smoke Christoph Waltz. And but this is probably the ultimate payback ending and just the best.
Absolutely.
It's the most satisfying. You're
Well,
starting to sell me.
and you have 2 of the best characters with Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth. They're the complete opposite people, and you love Cliff Booth, but, I mean, Rick Dalton's cool too. I mean, he's the cool Hollywood actor that's getting kinda washed up now, but, he's making these movies, but Cliff Booth is a stunt man, and he is fucking hilarious, dude. And hang out with the Manson chicks and everything, and going to that with the old
That
western town and stuff like that. That was just
Oh,
cool, dude.
that yeah, the fucking, they're
Ranch,
colonized that ranch, and
yeah,
he does his thing where he casts them kind of, uh, in need of work, like, Luke Perry has a small part, right?
yes,
You get to
yes,
see Luke Perry, which is fucking weird. You got Walter Goggins back. You have, Kurt Russell in a small role,
yep.
on that film set, and
Margot
dude,
Robbie's amazing in it.
bro, I you got the whole Bruce Lee thing, which is hilarious, where he
Yes.
throws Bruce Lee into that van or that car or whatever. Uh, yeah,
This
I'm
is the
sold.
most this is the most rewatchable Tarantino movie in the past since Pulp Fiction, in my opinion. Like,
Okay,
I've watched this twice this year, and I can watch it again because I love it so much.
I think I'm sold. It is an S movie, and I'm gonna put it over Jackie Brown because it's incredible. And Margot Robbie says like one damn thing in the whole movie. I think the only thing I can remember her saying is asking for her ticket, like one please, when she's gonna go see her own movie. But she doesn't have to say
It
much. I don't
doesn't
remember.
matter. I mean, she's a smoke show, and she's great.
Yeah, even though she's a little overexposed now, I'm kind of tired of seeing her so much and
But
everything.
at that point, she was, like, pretty much on the high.
Yeah, you got Emil Hirsch.
Timothy the Elephant, which I'm not a huge fan, but he was solid as
You know
Jane.
what? I'm sold on Timothy Olyphant. I think he's good in certain things. He's really good, and I think he works in this. Um,
Al
and he's
Pacino
not
was in
in
it. I mean,
who?
Al Pacino?
Oh yeah, yeah, Al Pacino. And then I kind of forget about it. He's the agent or whatever. He's the
Yeah.
guy that gets him into the Italian movies. Like you can go work in Italy or something. I think that's his role. And then you have Bruce Dern, who plays the old guy owning the ranch that they're just like taking advantage
Yep.
of, and or like assumingly thinks they're taking advantage of, but he's probably getting laid like crazy.
Oh, probably.
But that was the role that was intended for what's it called? Smoking the Bandit. Why can't I fucking think of it? Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Burt Reynolds, then he died. Which that would have been interesting to put Burt Reynolds in it, but he put Bruce Dern, who's great too. But I think Burt Reynolds would have been extra Tarantino
Yeah.
to throw him in there. So yeah, the little girl, that whole scene with that little girl actress
That
going
was
back
really
and
cool.
forth with DiCaprio was great, man. Yeah.
Old
But
school Hollywood, washed up Hollywood. That's what's so cool about it, though. I mean, you get these old stars. You really don't see that, when it comes to like something like that with the old Hollywood actors that are trying to just make it, which I think is fucking cool.
yeah, no, it's really cool. It's a cool timepiece. And I could see Tarantino's allure with putting big stars in his movies at this point in his career, like Brad Pitt and Leo, because as he puts it, Leo DiCaprio, which I would agree. I thought this before I heard Tarantino say it, but the guys like Leonardo DiCaprio are a dying breed because they're like this era's Brando,
Yeah.
where they're not. Leonardo DiCaprio does not do late night shows.
Yeah.
He's not going on Jay Leno or not Jimmy Fallon. He's not going. He doesn't do it. He doesn't need to. He's just this guy that does these projects, and whenever he does a big project, it's a big deal. And another degree, you have guys like Daniel Day-Lewis who literally come out of retirement every 8 years to do a movie, and he
Mhm.
goes off and lives in the fucking wilderness, and he doesn't talk to anybody. But when he does come out, everybody makes a huge deal about it, and he only comes out to work with the best. And it's there's something to say about those types of actors. I wonder if Tarantino's ever tried to get Daniel Day-Lewis in a movie too. It seems like the kind of guy he would
That
try and
would,
fetch.
yeah, I could see that. Absolutely.
He literally does. Look at his filmography. He
Yeah.
makes a
Yeah.
movie once every like 7, 8 years. I've never seen a guy like this that can just kind of be absent and not really in the public's eye of anybody. I don't think any young kid is going to know who Daniel Day-Lewis is. If you go to like some 15-year-old's house and be like, "Hey, what Daniel Day-Lewis movies you got to watch?" They're going to be like, "Who?" They don't fucking know. But yet he's this guy that comes out every decade, and it's always like part of a Scorsese or a Spielberg or something like that. And then he always just dominates the award seasons too. I don't know.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, I'm sold. It's an S. I'm gonna put it behind Pulp though. So does anybody else have anything to contest as far as where this goes? Oh yeah, Dakota Fanning. She's got a small part in that too. Yeah, a lot of people. The guy who played Elvis is in it too. He plays the guy that Brad Pitt fucking, at the Tex, is that his name?
Yeah.
Tex?
Tex. Yeah. It just brings back the late 60s, early 70s in Hollywood. And I never lived through that. So it's kind of a glimpse back then, which I love, man. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, Blocko, PT Anderson got Daniel Day-Lewis first too. Yeah. Well, okay, so we'll leave this at an S. And now for fun, just because we're gonna start winding down here, for fun, we're gonna just kind of place these flicks. These are movies that Tarantino wrote. I know True Romance he wrote and Tony Scott directed. This was actually the movie that he did to kind of weasel his way into the industry, networking at industry parties and shit like that. And he got Tony Scott to eat up his script and direct his flick. And so True Romance, I think it's a good flick. When you watch it, it feels like a Tarantino movie, even though it's
Yeah.
Tony
Yeah.
Scott. The dialogue's there. You see it in the dialogue.
Mhm.
And you got great little moments with Val Kilmer playing like the vision of Elvis. You never really see his face. You've got what's his name? Gary Oldman. He's fantastic in it. And you got Christopher Walken, who's fucking great in it. Patricia Arquette. They're all great, man. And even Christian Slater, who I am not the hugest fan of,
I like Christian Slater.
is great.
Yeah.
I think it's a strong movie. I don't really know. For me personally, if you're going to ask me just for funsies, like I said, this is kind of unofficial. I would put it right here. Sorry, I would. This is just me for funsies.
That's fine with me. I saw it a long time ago once, and it was good. I thought it was good, but I never really rewatched it.
It's a fun movie.
So I can't.
I wouldn't
discount
argue
that.
with you. I wouldn't argue if it was anywhere behind all these, to be honest with you. But like I said, I haven't watched Hateful Eight in a while. I've never really seen Kill Bills all the way through, and it's been a while since Death Proof. So just because this is actually more recent in my mind, I'm
I'm
putting it
fine
here.
with
But
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I wouldn't argue if it was anywhere. But I think it's a fun movie. Yeah, Blanco says it's a B, but below Dogs. Milo says it's an okay B. Okay, so we'll just kind of leave it there for funsies. Lastly, this is a flick
Robert
that,
Rodriguez.
well, Robert Rodriguez directed it. Tarantino co-stars in it. Tarantino wrote the script, but it was not his story. Let me see. It was a concept and story by Robert Kurtzman, and Tarantino actually wrote the script. So this one's kind of definitely more of a joint effort. But just for funsies, can we all just say what happened to George Clooney, man? He started off being a fun actor.
He was fantastic in this. He stole the show. He was amazing. You had Tarantino, of course. You had Juliette Lewis. You had Danny Trejo. You had Fred Williamson, which he was in this one. Tom Savini, Cheech Marin, Harvey Keitel. I mean, this is a great cast. A lot of fun. I saw this movie in the theater at the Dollar Theater. I think I talked about this not too long ago. And man, I love this movie. It's great. Um,
Oh,
I don't know if I
someone.
could put it as high as, an A or anything or an A, but it's a really fun movie. A lot of good.
You know
A
what?
lot
You know
of
what it reminds me of, and it's not just because of the vampire connection, but it's kind of
fun.
on the same spectrum as like John Carpenter's Vampires, where it's a really fun B movie, right?
It's way better than the John Carpenter's
I think
Vampires in
it's
my
a bit
opinion.
better than John Carpenter's Vampires too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a fun
The
B movie.
tone. Yeah, yeah.
It's a really fun B style movie. And Selma Hayek, dude, she is
Oh man. Yeah.
that she was prime. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's like I said, is this the first time people started noticing Tarantino's fixation on feet when he writes in the script for Selma Hayek to put his toes in his mouth and he sucks her toes?
Well, can you blame him? I'm
Oh,
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's pretty. I wonder if like how Hayek looks back on that now, like, ew. Because isn't it weird though when you're somebody that wrote the script? It's not just an actor. It's like you're the guy that wrote the script, and you wrote in this scene that I have to put my foot in your mouth and you suck my toes.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's
No, I
it's
hear you.
weird, right? It's
Yeah.
very weird. But because it's like, well, even if you felt like it really helped the scene, you could have did it to Clooney. He's like, no, I'm gonna take this from me. She's gonna stick it in my mouth. I'm just gonna my mouth. La, la, la.
So
Anyway,
she was probably 30 when this movie came out.
no, she was younger. Come
No,
on.
no, no, no. She's born in 66. I just looked it up.
Really?
Yeah. So it came out, what, 96?
Okay. Well, I guess she was about 30 then. Let's see here. Yeah, you're right. She was 30. Well, she's still aging like a fine wine, so
Oh, yeah.
it's all good. All right. So, where do you guys think this belongs?
I think it belongs behind Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
That's just me.
I could go in on that. No, yeah, because if I'm thinking about it here, I do. I'll put it above. I like it better. Like I said, I can't really speak for these anymore. I have to revisit them. I like it better in True Romance. Um, you know what? I would even argue and wager that it's more fun than Reservoir Dogs. You know what I mean?
But not cultural relevance. I
Not
mean,
culturally relevant. Yeah, exactly. And um, so I'm happy.
it is more fun, though.
Milo says it's a C. It's better than Natural Born Killers. Um, you know what this movie's is great though? It does the flip, right? Because you think it's about one thing. You got these guys on the run from the law. It starts off as one movie, an outlaw movie,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it turns into a fucking random ass vampire movie. And it becomes about it flips the script. And now it's not about, hey, we're running from the law, we're trying to escape what we did. Now it's about we gotta survive the night from vampires at this fucking brothel we held up, the strip club. It's crazy. And I think it's awesome. I don't think it gets enough credit with the type of structure the script is, but it's fantastic. Like I think this is another movie people try to rip off too, pulling that off effectively.
It's one of the best
Like,
vampire flicks out there. Probably top 5 vampire flick.
yeah, and once again, George Clooney, what happened to you? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so we're happy with that. So Gosh, before we wrap up, I was trying to think if there was anything else. I felt like there was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember it.
I
Oh,
think this is
really?
the perfect list, man. This is great.
And this should say something about him. I mean, like I said, he's got nothing below a B, at least on this list. That's pretty cool. And what do you guys think is going to be his last movie? Right? And do you guys think it's really going to be his last movie? Because he's going to stop at what 10 is right? Is that what it is? He's going to stop at 10 movies. That's what he says. I know there was talk of like, well, I'm going to do a Star Trek movie. I think
Why?
that felt
Why? Why? Just do one more movie. That's all you need to do.
Well, I think that fell off. I think that was like some side talk, and that was getting a lot of heat for a while that he was gonna do like an R-rated Tarantino Star Trek movie. But what do you guys think? What genre has he not tackled yet? He's never really done a horror movie. I don't count Dusk Till Dawn. That's not his movie, really, through
He's
and
not going to
through.
go out on a horror movie.
You don't think he'll go out like a heightened like a Halloween John Carpenter? He hasn't tackled the John Carpenter, right?
Well,
That
I'm
kind of stuff.
surprised Once Upon a Time wouldn't be his swan song. I mean,
It kind of feels like it, doesn't it?
yeah, I think it does, but
Well, he's gonna do one more, and you think he's gonna do a comedy, like a black comedy? Well, do you guys really think that he'll actually? It's gonna be one of these things where he does a big movie, and then after 10 years, he's like, I can't sit still, and he's gonna do something else. Because I don't know, I don't think he'll quit. I think he'll come out and do something. But his whole thing is, well, I want to go out on top, and I want to go out relevant. He's like most of your favorite directors, they keep going for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and they're not good. And he's got a point there. Like how many directors really stay on top? I John Carpenter's filmography would have been a lot more pristine in my eyes if he would have stopped in the early 90s. And that's
yeah, but
facts.
the guy got to make him some money, though. I mean, come on, he's got to eat.
I think he's eating just fine. Have you seen him lately?
He's got the
His his
munchies.
his, his face looks like a fucking rotten jack-o'-lantern in the fucking summer, dude. But anyway, yeah, we'll see what that's going to be all about. And I would think here soon he's going to be start talking about it. He's got to be working on something because it's been a couple few years since Hollywood, so I think the timing is right. But anyway, thank you guys so much. This was a fun one to do. Give us some feedback. Hopefully, you guys can follow us on our Discord. That's free for everybody, of course. If you're not already on there, go ahead and find us Revival House on there, and feel free to shoot us comments on this video if you want to, or in the Discord on what you guys think we should tackle next. I think next week we're going to do an episode where we talk about we're going to compile lists of the movies that we feel are legitimately like 0 or 1 stars. And that we kind of wanted to do that this week, and then we decided we wanted more time because kind of like last week where we did movies that made us cry, it was hard. It's a really hard topic because once again, I can think of a ton of shit movies, but when you really start putting the pen to paper, it's like, oh, yeah, but which ones really deserve almost nothing? Like what are the movies that have next to no redeeming qualities? Because even the worst movies, I could find something redeeming
Yeah,
to say about them,
this is
right?
gonna be one of the hardest lists that we've done.
And it might, yeah, exactly. And it might not be a big list. Like even if we can get 5, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what we come up with.
Okay.
It'll be a fun one though, and I think it'll be a controversy because you could judge that however you want. Like for something to be memorable enough to give you a 1 or a 2, it might be because it's a movie that's kind of revered and you just really don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
That might play into how you rank you do your list. I don't know. Because there's a lot of really bad movies that no one gives a shit about. You kind of forget about them. Like if it's just a terrible movie, like I mean, I probably don't even think about the title, but the ones that are known are like The Brown Bunny. I know people talk about that movie being a piece of shit. I'm not gonna I bet you there's redeeming stuff in there. And that's the one where he gets his dick sucked in real life. There's redeeming stuff there, but we'll have to do our homework and we're gonna talk about it. So we're gonna be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. streaming on twitch.tv/rival house and on YouTube. And as always, for those that can't make it, I always edit these and post and chop them up and make a video and post the week after, so you'll be able to catch it in some form the week following. So thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Bye bye.